is Sihle Mlambo, the IOL content manager. Happy holidays, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. I don't know when you're watching this, but I'm pretty sure you're at home, relaxed, having a good time with your friends and family. Now, I'll be joined by various IOL sports reporters, from Lunga Biyela to Michael Sherman to John Goliath to Kim K to Mthobisi Nozulela, and we'll be reflecting on some of the biggest stories that have impacted us on the sporting calendar this year. Oh, and before we go any further, I've got a quick message from a very special somebody. From us to you, happy holidays.
Hello everyone in IOL, it's Akani here. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work to the team at IOL, and I wish you a happy festive season, and I hope that this year's dreams and goals of your team or whatever you've achieved will be the floor, but you'll hit much bigger, much bigger heights. We always aim to do better than we've done before, and have a great year. And to all the readers, hopefully they're enjoying what you do. So thank you so much. Siya Kolisi, Cape Town.
Michael Sherman here, digital sports journalist for IOL Sport. And today I'm going to be talking about the Olympics and South Africa's participation in the Paris Olympics this year. And there were quite a few, but if I had to narrow it down, definitely the performances of Tatjana Smith, Akani Simbine, and Bayanda Walaza. Smith, of course, at the Olympics, she announced that she should be retiring after the games, but she did bag another gold and silver in the 100 and the 200 meter breaststroke. So it was an incredible way to end her career as a competitive athlete and become SA's most decorated Olympian. Then when she returned to South Africa, she was part of the Team SA that received an incredible reception at OR Tambo. And the moment of the return of the whole team for me was when she was handed a 100 Rand note by a passionate fan. And it was just as a token of her appreciation for Tatjana and what she did at the Olympics and for South Africa.
That fan felt like she was representing all of us during that moment.
It was, as a journalist, it's always a bit of a circus when a team's done really well and they come to the airport and there's everything happening everywhere. And then I just saw out of the corner of my eye something interesting. I don't know what made me go there, but I saw Tatjana interacting with this fan, and then thought, what's a 100 Rand note doing there? And so I started filming right then and there, and I heard a little bit of the exchange, and moments like that are the moments that go viral. And like I say, just a heartwarming moment for both Tatjana and that fan.
And speaking of Tatjana,
I certainly wasn't expecting it at the time because she is just 27, but I interviewed her after the Olympics, even a couple days later, and she was just explaining, what goes into becoming an Olympic athlete, and especially on the swimming side, where you actually, you're kind of more competitive at a younger age. And she'd been through that for over a decade as a professional, so it just wore her down, obviously, and she's looking to a different career path now. We don't know what that is, but she's certainly set for life, and I think whatever she chooses to do, she'll be successful. They bagged the silver medal in the men's 4x100, and of course the American team, they didn't do very well in the final. They came like 7th, and then they were later disqualified. So South Africa had the added bonus of dusting the Americans in that final. But for Simbine, he's exactly in the men's 100 meter. But that's always been the case for Simbine. He's always kind of the bridesmaid, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's always just that one step away from the podium. And in Paris, it was no different. faster than you can snap your fingers is what stood in his way to getting an Olympic medal in the individual event. So then, he's the experienced guy in the relay team, and he's really kind of anchoring it. And then you have a guy like Bayanda Walaza. He doesn't have perhaps the best technique when it comes to sprinting. His arms are kind of flailing all over the place. But, the passion that guys like Bayanda showed, and also the mettle to perform in such a high pressure environment in an Olympic final, they all produced the goods to get South Africa to the silver. And Bayanda in particular, I was able to get a bit of background with his story. A week after the Olympics, I went to his school where he received an incredible reception from his schoolmates. And I spoke to his mother, Toliwe, and she shared with me that that Bayanda at the age of 10 lost his father through a violent gunshot incident. So she was raising him as a single mother. And now she's welcoming him back to South Africa as an Olympic silver medalist. She was kind of fighting back the tears in our interview together. But she's just so filled with pride, and being a single mother, that was an incredible achievement both for Bayanda and his family. And he's got a huge support group at the Currow schools there as well, in Hazeldean in Pretoria. So he's kind of like the superstar there, and he's going to be one for the future.
We just thought we'd reflect on Bafana Bafana and their exploits in 2024. What would your match reports for the year for Bafana Bafana look like?
No, they've been very good. Hugo Bruce has been sort of slowly but surely getting the team to start playing as a unit. So I think 2024 has been, Bafana Bafana's best year in a long time. There was an unbeaten year, I think, in 2016, but those results, it was just friendlies and all those types of games. But this year, it was, they had a decent, they had a very good, AFCON qualifying campaign where they qualified with no game still to spare. They did well in AFCON itself. They doing well in World Cup qualifiers. So it was a
solid year.
Yeah.
And another thing that's happened this year is that Bafana Bafana has people believing in it.
Earlier on in the year, Hugo Bruce was, begging fans to start attending games. They were playing games at like near empty stadiums. It was embarrassing, and Hugo Bruce, just sent out an appeal to fans. Come support us, come watch us, and fans have responded very well. The last couple of games have been played in full stadiums. Fans have been, reacting to the team. I kind of say that it's South Africa's has fallen in love with the team again. After all the issues of the last 15 or so years, where the team have struggled. So the last year, the country has fallen in love with the team again, and it's very pleasing to see.
Yeah, speaking of packed stadiums, we obviously towards the end of the year we saw Bafana go back to, was it Goliath? We saw a packed stadium there. They went back to Cape Town. We saw a packed stadium there. It bodes well for the qualifiers coming up early next year, doesn't it?
Yeah, over the years, where they continue to take the team to Joburg, where they just played at the FNB Stadium. I think, in a sense, those fans sort of got
complacency.
Sick. Yeah, and so the rest of the country was just begging to see the team play, and I think it was a good move by SAFA to take the team around the country, take them to Gqeberha, take them to Bloemfontein, take them to Cape Town, and just get those fans to see the team again. I think it's almost like how Kaizer Chiefs, where they play at FNB Stadium, hardly anyone pitches up. It's been different this season, but over the years, will pitch up. But once
but if they go to Peter Mokaba, if they go to Durban, if they go to Bombela, if they go to the Bloemfontein, it's packed stadiums every time.
Yeah. So I think it was something similar to that, where South Africans are just just wanting to get behind the team again.
And just for you, Lunga, just give me 3 players that have really impressed you for Bafana this year. I know you're going to say Ronwen Williams is one of them. So, let's start there.
Definitely Ronwen. Those penalty saves in that AFCON quarterfinal. That just put him on a whole different level to where he was. It got the world sort of taking notice of him. So he's been brilliant. Another one that I've Umshishi,
Tembazwane.
He's been phenomenal. He's on the wrong side of 35, but you can hardly tell that he's over 30 by just how he sort of can control midfield, can create chances. And the other one is Rushwin Dudley. He has a year ago, very few people would have heard of him when he was at Cape Town Spurs.
Cape Town Spurs, yeah.
But he's made the big. He had a decent season in a relegation campaign. Earned a big move to Chiefs, and since he's earned his spot in the Bafana side, he's just become a regular. He's become one of the most trusted players that you can call on. Yeah,
fantastic. And
so
that's Ronwen Williams, Tembazwane, and Dudley. So that's your 3.
I mean, I could add, players Tebogo Mokoena.
It's actually a nice problem to have, because there's so many players to choose from. Even someone like Mofokeng, who's had very good cameos with Bafana. But we all accept that he's still sort of like on that potential list, and he's still coming through. But what an impression he's made all around, eh?
Yeah, no, he's been pretty good this season. Over the last year. I think he definitely is someone who has a big future ahead of him.
What do you make of these links with Barcelona?
He's done well. I think it's Barcelona beat him. But I think in South Africa we sort of have this inferiority complex where once someone is linked with a big side, we think, no, it can't be true. It can't be true. But
that's me.
No, but I think he obviously has the ability, the talent.
He's phenomenal.
He's still a bit of a rough diamond.
Right.
They just need to polish him a little bit.
What does success look like for Hugo Bruce next year?
Definitely qualifying for the World Cup.
Would you think we're still a shoot-in for that, right?
I think we're in a good place. We second in the group, tied on points with Rwanda. We should have beaten them last year. Then we would have taken a bigger league. But with Nigeria sort of struggling, you want to take as many points as you can, because I think by the time we played them in September, I think they could be over the struggles. There could be the Nigeria that we know we like. one of the best teams in the world. But I think we for the time being, we need to make sure that we, just keep on taking those points, keep on winning games, and just getting closer and closer to qualification.
And then in terms of the AFCON in Morocco,
I think
will there not be big pressure after finishing third in Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire?
No, other teams are starting to look at us now as one of the serious teams, and Hugo Bruce is, that they've managed to deal with those expectations. I think just better than what we did last time. Final, and just take it from there. Finally.
Yeah. And we've got a good mix of experience and youngsters coming through. So you've got that energy and you've got that dynamism with the guys who aren't quite in the first 11 at the moment. And obviously a lot of the guys that are in the first 11 are in their 30s, most of them, and late 20s. But I think we do have I want to say perfect balance or good blend of youth and experience.
I just like to see how Masangani sort of how he can develop, because as we said earlier, he's 35 years old. He's not getting any younger, and Tito is the next guy, sort of earmarked for that position. So I think the next couple of games, he needs to really, step up to show that, this is the guy that can carry us, when Shishi finally decides to either
call it a day.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. I think we've come to the end of it. It's been a fantastic year for Bafana Bafana, and we hope 2025 is going to be equally as good.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from me.
John, you're here to help us reflect on the amazing year that the Springboks have had in 2024. Just talk us through it. What have the Springboks done right this year, and why were they this unstoppable force?
Firstly, the Springboks, after the 2019 World Cup, they didn't have sort of the transition plan into the next World Cup because of COVID, and the world went into lockdown. So they didn't have the same opportunity to maybe spread the love amongst the players. They missed out on a whole year in 2020. The Lions tour in 2021 was under strict COVID regulations. So they didn't have the freedom that they had post 2023 to maybe test all the players, have an immediate look at who can still make it to the next World Cup, who's still good enough to play for the Springboks, who are the next generation of players, and it all seemed to fall into place in 2024. The biggest thing for Rassie Erasmus was definitely giving more players a chance to see where they are in relation to what he knows he's got in the locker, because as we move on to 2027 in Australia, there will be a lot of senior players who will either be retiring before that or after that World Cup. And it was clear that Erasmus knew that from the start, and he wasn't scared to really have a go in terms of giving players the opportunity. He gave 51 players played for the Springboks in 2024, which is absolutely ridiculous. And of those,
and a lot of those players have done well, haven't they, John?
And a lot of those players have done really well. Of the 51 players, I would say that going forward, Rassie's got a massive headache, but it's a lovely headache to have. because the Springboks in the test they played, the 13 tests they played this year, they only lost twice, and both of those occasions was by a single point, games that they actually should have won. They scored a lot of tries. I think they scored over 50 tries this season. They also ended the year at number 1 in the world. They've also got to a new attacking strategy, which they are implementing, and the implementation of that is going a lot faster than they would have had imagined. Tony Brown has been brought in and has given them a new dimension. Suddenly, you've gone from having one fly-off that starts all the test matches to 4 fly-offs that can start at any time for the Springboks. There's 4 scrum-offs that can start at any time for the Springboks. They've got so much depth in all positions, basically the envy of the world.
Rassie manage that? And what do you think the big plan is for 2025?
I think the plan for 2025 is going to be to basically continue on down this road. They are going to play Argentina and Argentina. They are going to play Italy and Georgia in June, which gives them even more chances of experimentation. Obviously, Rassie, what he's doing well is while he's experimenting, is also winning, and that is proven to basically take some of the pressure off blooding new players. If you look like a team like New Zealand, they are also trying to do the same, but they are suffering defeats, and the coaches have come under pressure at various times during the year. Scott Robertson, while in Rassie's case, while he has experimented, they've also won, and which is a nice position for him to be in, because there's basically no pressure. Even if Rassie loses a couple of tests in 2025, there's still no pressure on him because of what he's achieved, and people know exactly what he's doing in terms of there's transparency. Everybody knows he's working towards the next World Cup. There's no issue around that. But I think the biggest goals for them in 2025 is going to be playing 2 tests in New Zealand and beating New Zealand in New Zealand over those 2 tests. It's basically a mini series, and they would love to beat the All Blacks at home. And one of those games will be played in Auckland. And the All Blacks haven't lost in Auckland in, I think, a couple of decades. So that, I think, is the next objective for Rassie, to actually beat the All Blacks in Auckland, which is possibly one of sport's impossible tasks.
All right, John. I'm just heading into the 2027 World Cup. There's obviously a number of aging Springboks. Who do you think is at risk of not making it to the World Cup?
Oh, there are a lot of Springboks. I think the majority of the Springboks who've played in the last 2 World Cups, they are either in the late 20s, as in 29, 30, 32. But if you look at guys at the moment who are borderline, even Captain Siya Kolisi is 33 now. In 3 years, he will be 36. Franco Mostert's 36. Frans Malherbe 36, and Bongium Benambi also 36 at the World Cup. So those are guys that are borderline, while a guy like Makazole Mapimpi is 34 now. He will be 37 at the next World Cup. He's still playing unbelievable rugby, as is the likes of a Vincent Koch, also playing very good rugby at the moment. He's 34. So those 2, I think, might be the guys that can still sneak in the back door. I think guys that are not going to make it. Wally Leroux, currently 35 years old, still playing decent rugby, but I don't think they see him as a player who will go to the World Cup. Rassie's already said he's probably got another year or 2 left in him. They desperately want him to get to his 100th cap in South Africa next year. So we'll see Wally maybe play another year in the green and gold. And a guy like Trevor Nyekani also, he's 35. I don't think he's gonna make it. There's currently a lot of front rowers also at the Springboks' disposal. He's still very good, old Trevor, but I don't see him making it. But otherwise, there's a lot of guys that are going to be basically still in the prime. A guy like Cheslin Colby is going to be 33 by the time the World Cup gets here. Eben Etzebeth also, he'll be around about 35 once the World Cup arrives. So the core of the team will still be of the World Cup winners of 2019, 2023. Add to that Sasha Feinberg, Ngomezulu. Add to that a guy like Apalele Fassi. Add to that some of the wingers that we've seen come through over the last couple of years. Kurtley Arendse, the loose forwards that are coming through at the moment. We've still got very good locks. So all in all, going towards the World Cup, if this team can basically trend like they have been trending in between World Cups and then peak at the World Cup, I don't see why they can't go for the three-peat.
And just looking at just how well the Springboks have done in the past decade, really. We're seeing Bafana Bafana starting to look the part. We're seeing the Proteas side suddenly come alive, making their first T20 World Cup final. We look a shoe in for the World Championship final as well. What can these other national teams do to get them over the line and to have that box winning spirit?
Well, if you look at Rassie Erasmus, when he came in 2018, he had a clear plan, clear objectives. He was the first thing is that he was honest about transformation. He knew that he had to transform while winning. The second thing was that he knew he had to build depth, he had to build capacity, so that he's got enough players with experience going into firstly that 2019 World Cup and the quality as well. And then the other thing was clear game plans and the South African DNA working with that in terms of a game plan. They did the same going into 2023, and now they are not standing still either. They're trying to evolve the game plan. Transformation is basically sorted. The depth is sorted. And now the game plan was sorted, but now they know for them to achieve a third World Cup, they need to evolve. They need to get better. And that's where I think our cricket and our football, where they have maybe also come along this year. I think we have in the rugby wise, and we've seen it this year also, the Springboks are ruthless when it comes to winning games and coming from positions of losing positions to win matches, because they are ruthless and they believe it's not done until it's done. Our cricketers and our footballers, I think I've seen it with Bafana a bit this year, that they are also adopting that sort of mantra that they believe they can win every match. We saw it at AFCON, we saw it during the qualifiers, and they have also are becoming ruthless. And that is something I think we need to see from our cricket team. I think the Red Bull team is sorted now in terms of there's a clear plan, there's a clear identity. They seem to be a massive team spirit in that team, which I haven't seen for a very long time. I think Shukri Conrad is an experienced guy and a coach that I think we overlooked in this country for years. And now we've just seen how he's turned this test team around. The guys are scoring hundreds all of the time. So I think when it comes to the white ball now, that team can still get a lot better. They made a final of the Cricket World Cup, which they really showed some character to do that. But in other white ball series, they flopped desperately. I don't think they've won a T20 white ball series for since Rob Walter was appointed as the coach. So that needs to improve, starting with the series, obviously, against Pakistan. But going forward next year, it's the Champions Cup. It's another trophy on the line in the 50-over game. hopefully this team can again maybe show how they've developed in their white ball skills and so on, and also young players coming through. I think it's time that there's going to be also a transition in the white ball team, especially ahead of the Cricket World Cup in South Africa in 2027. And it's going to be key for us to start now as a cricketing nation in identifying guys who can actually win us games. I think we've already seen one of the brightest stars for BF 2024, Tristan Stubbs, breakout year for him, all formats of the game. And we need more to find more Tristan Stubbs, especially in the bowling department, where I think we are not far off winning a white ball trophy. But I think we still need to find those gems and build enough capacity and in positions where we can actually just, when one guy is injured, this guy can fill in seamlessly like they do with the Springboks and even possibly Bafana at the moment.
All right, fantastic, John. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Sihle. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Looking back, it seems like it happened years ago, but it was just in June when South Africa played India in the final. South Africa had won every match. I think it was 7 or 8 matches in the lead up to the final, and they won a number of close ones as well, just like the Springboks did in the Rugby World Cup final, Rugby World Cup last year. So you kind of got a sense that now was the time they were finally going to do it. And then they needed 30 of 30 with Heinrich Klaassen and David Miller at the wicket. You thought this is a done deal, and yeah, a lot of people would call it a choke, but I don't. And I wrote a story to that effect, saying why they didn't choke. But it was because India are such wily competitors, and you have Jasprit Bumrah, who's probably the best fast bowler, death bowler in world cricket. They slowed the game down when South Africa had, just needed 30 from 30, and then Jasprit Bumrah bowled a fantastic over, and then just things started falling away for the Proteas. And as much as the Proteas lost it, India won it. So ultimately, yeah, it wasn't a choke, but it is with a sense of frustration that they couldn't get over the final hurdle. But it's progress. They made their first ever men's Cricket World Cup final, and that's, I guess, what we have to take. And it wasn't the women's first final, because they made the final on home soil last year, or 2023. So you thought that they could go all the way this time. It obviously wasn't to be. They fell quite well short. They lost by 30 odd runs in the final to New Zealand, but they did pick up some really big victories during the tournament. But you feel like that maybe the women will get the job done before the men, because they just keep punching above their weight. So if they carry on in this fashion, you got to feel that they actually going to do it quite soon. Get over that. It wasn't too long ago that we selected a very inexperienced side to turn New Zealand. There was basically a B team, and they got rightfully thrashed. So the optimism on the test front was quite low. We used to be the best in the world going back to like 2012, 2013, with the Graham Smiths, Jacques Kallis, Hashim Amla still around, AB de Villiers. So this is a very different look side. But in Bangladesh, we did fantastically well to win the series 2-0, and that kind of raised our expectations once more, because you maybe thought that they could maybe grab a 1-0 win, or maybe even a series draw would have been good. But to come away with a comprehensive test victory like they did, and guys like Tristan Stubbs, finding his feet in test cricket. Stubbs, is traditionally seen as a limited overs player, and now he's starting to deliver the goods in Test cricket. So, yeah, it's really set us on course. And if we now win our remaining Test matches, we will play in the World Test Championship final in June next year. The fastest to 7 wickets in Test cricket per number of balls. And then again, Tristan Stubbs in the second innings, along with Bavuma scoring centuries. The side is kind of really gelling together, even though they've been struck with a couple injuries in this match. After that match with Gerald Kudsia and Vian Mulder out injured. It even presents a chance for some of the other guys to come into the squad, but they seem to have found their mojo, and I'm quite optimistic that they can go all the way to the final, because obviously we got Pakistan in the Christmas and the New Year's test, so maybe the squad will look slightly different depending on the pitches and what they're expecting from Pakistan, but there's every chance that South Africa can go all the way.
Okay, and as we wrap up,
to date are fantastic, and he's always been the guy that has been singled out whenever he hasn't been scoring the big scores. He's always very consistent in most formats he plays, but especially in Test cricket. Over the last 5 years, he's actually been South Africa's best batsman in Test cricket. People are very quick to forget that or just ignore that fact, and that just shows you the mettle that he has, and the determination that he has to perform for the side. And his performances lately, finally scoring that third Test 100, he went years without scoring the second Test 100. Now he's got his third, and he's doing well in the current Test in Kaizer. Sure, I think the effect that Temba has and is going to have as in these couple tests coming up against Pakistan is going to be huge, and we should be very thankful that he's the leader of our team.
Okay, let's wrap up. What are you looking forward to next year?
Next year, obviously, the World Test Championship. That's going to be fantastic. And just seeing what guys like Bayanda Walaza on the athletics fronts can produce for South Africa. There's a lot of youngsters in every sport, basically. I'm a little bit biased in the golf. Aldrich Potgieter is one to watch for the future. He's a massively big hitter on the European tour, and he's going to have a big effect. And I think also guys like Tristan Lawrence, same thing. He's a consistent performer for us, and I just think it's going to be a year to remember for South Africa. Guys, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and Opti Bokke, go Proteas, and go Team SA in 2025.
Alright, so my reflections on the Betway Premiership this season, it's been a very interesting season, right? We've seen it, I would say that it has been a season of upsets. In the first game of the season, we saw Mofokeng Golden Arrows beating Stellenbosch away. Nobody saw that coming. We saw Magesi FC beating Orlando Pirates in Orlando in the quarterfinals of the Kaizer Cup. We saw Polokwane City beating Mamelodi Sundowns. For a team that's almost went unbeaten last season. We saw just over the weekend Polokwane City beating Kaizer Chiefs 2-0 at the Polokwane Stadium as well. So it's been a very interesting season. We've seen the so-called smaller teams giving the big teams, if you like to put it, a tough time. So I would say it's been a season of upsets, but also we've seen young players coming into the fore. If you look at last season compared to this season, I think we're seeing more young players being given an opportunity to showcase their talent in the PSL, something that has been lacking in previous seasons. If you look at young players, for example, like Howard Gotts, Orlando Pirates attacker, somebody who's coming in the league and just did not look out of place. Looked like he belonged there, and he's been doing very well. You look at, Akoza, the Sundowns centre back as well, 20 years old. He's playing his first full season in the PSL and showing his quality at the back in the absence of Gran Kekana. So it's been a very interesting season. We're seeing young players coming in. We're seeing the so-called smaller teams giving the big teams a run for their money, right? So that's how I would really categorize the season so far. Now, if we were to look at Kaizer Chiefs, right, the Soweto Giants, for them, they started the season promising. I mean, they won against Amazulu, they won against Maromo Gallants. Many fans had high hopes for the team. I mean, they brought in a lot of players this season. Inacho Miguel from Petro Luanda. They brought in Bradley Cross from Golden Arrows. They've got a new coach, Nazruddin Nabi, a coach with, who has experience of winning before. But they've just not lived up to the expectations. If you look at the season, they've really won, I think, how many games have they won? Maybe 3 games or 4 games. They're currently sitting on 9th position in the league. They've just really not gelled. Now in the media we're learning that Kaizer Chiefs Gaston Sereno, their best player by far this season, is reportedly acting out and not really has, shown commitment as many people would have expected.
So guys, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and Opti Bokke, go Proteas, and go Team SA in 2025.